In this video, I'll be making some LED panels designed for video work. They're based off of some panels that DIY Perks did in one of his videos. They feature two different color temperatures of LED lights, one a warmer light and one a cooler blue light, so you can change the color temperature based on your surrounding light. And if you combine them together, you should get a nice natural pure white. They have PW and brightness controllers, but they're very high frequency, so you don't get any flicker in your videos. And they should be a lot better quality than the kind of LED panels you can get off Amazon for the same amount of money. I'm just using this cheap, thin particle board stuff to create the back panels for the lights. It's pretty bendy, but the light panels themselves aren't very big, so hopefully once they're a small size, they lose some of their flex. I can always glue a frame onto the back of them if they're not strong enough. So now I need to figure out how I want to cut two 30 by 25 centimeter squares. Alright, these firmed up pretty well. They're actually quite solid now that they're cut into a smaller shape. So the next thing I'm going to do is just clean up the edges a bit, straighten them up, and then throw a layer of black paint on them. Alright, now I need to cut the LED strips into 25 centimeter lengths. And according to this ruler here, that should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5? Yeah, 5 sections in. So that means that each of these 3 LED groups here is 5 centimeters long. And then there's, I'll get a closer look here. So there's 3 LEDs with a resistor in between all of them, and then there's 2 copper pads. So I just need to cut every 5 sections, and that should give me 20 strips, each 25 centimeters long. Now I'm just marking out the LED strips so they're centered and not crooked. After this, I'm just going to glue them down with some super glue. Also remember to alternate color temperatures when you're gluing down the strips. So now that I'm done gluing together the panels, I need to wire them up. One side for each different shade of light. The LED strips are wired up in series, So in my case, I have 10 of each color of strip on each panel, so that's a total of 20 strips. But you want to wire each color separately so you can control the brightness independently. So you want to wire up the first 5 or whatever half of your strips are together, and then wire the other half together, and then have them meet in the middle. At which point you're going to join the positive wire of one half to the ground wire of the other half, and leave the positive wire of one half and the ground wire of the other half separate. So those will be the wires going to your PWM controller. So now that I have the panels all wired up, I need to find a place to put the brightness PWM controllers. So I'm thinking I'll put them right here in this top, the top left corner. I'll just hot glue them down for now. Maybe I'll create a bracket layer to put them in, but hot glue I can remove easily if I want to mount them better later in the future, and it'll work for now. After you're done wiring up the PWM controllers to the LED strips, you're then going to want to wire them together in parallel. After that, you can attach a power connector to one of them. Now that the panels are done, I cut out and glued together some pieces to make some pivot mounts to attach the panels to the tripods that I bought. So I put a nut in the bottom of the stand that I made, the pivot joint that I made, just super glued it in, so then I should be able to, in theory, just screw this onto the stand that I got. And we should have working lights. Here we go. Pivot works. If I plug it in over here, then you can see the light works too. Alright, I'm just going to do some tests with the lights on and off. Right now I just have the lights in the room on, and you can see my desk. I'm just using one light for these tests, so you can see this is the white light, the pure white light dial, all the way up and all the way down and then off. This is the warm light. This won't be an exact thing, the exposure is going to change on the camera as I fiddle with these things, but you can kind of get an idea of how it can like increase picture quality with more light, and that's both all the way cranked up. And then I can turn on the other light that I have too, with both colors on. And you can see my desk is a lot brighter. To me it's like really bright, but to the camera it just looks normal and you get a nice clear picture. So you can see the difference that having like decent lights makes in filming. It really does make the difference between a good picture and a crappy picture. Alright, a couple of quick things to note about doing this. So I did have some troubles with the electronics. One of the mistakes that I made was thinking that I could short the two pins on here, wherever they are, for 3 to 15 volts as opposed to 3 to 35 volts, which is what they are normally. My thinking with this was that only 9 volts is going to the LED strips, but what I forgot is that it's 19 volts going into the brightness controllers and then 19 volts coming out, and then it gets broken up into 2 sets of 9 volts as opposed to being broken up when it enters here. So 19 volts goes into here and you have those 2 pins shorted, then you're going to blow the timer chip on the inside there. You can see it exploded, there was smoke, there were sparks. It was quite spectacular actually. And this one actually blew up so much that it blew out the bottom of this capacitor too when the timer chip blew up. These are just like generic Texas Instruments E555, I think is what the code on them is for a timer chip. So in theory you could replace these, but these little potentiometers switches are only like $3-5 depending on where you get them. So it's not really worth it when you can just buy a whole new one. Unfortunately, I didn't realize that the problem why they were exploding was the fact that those 2 pins were shorted until I already blew up 3 of the 5 that I bought. So currently this one doesn't work at all. 2 of the other ones that I blew up are still on the LED panel. So if we come over to this LED panel here, you can see that it has no brightness controls. I don't know if you can see my hand with the exposure being so dark, but it just has off and on, and these are the 2 chips that I blew up. So I'm assuming when it exploded it just created a dead short, and it just goes 19 volts in, 19 volts out. So that's unfortunate. I did buy some more, but because they come from China they take like 30 days. I did still have 2 working, so the ones over on this panel here, if I come over here, you can see here, these are the 2 ones that work. So these do actually have brightness control. Another problem I ran into while building these, this one I'm pretty sure wasn't my fault, but it may very well have been, is I bought these super cheap, made in China, really light 19 volt power supplies, and neither of them worked. If I plug this one in here, and then measure the connector, set this to DC volts, we get 18.4 volts, which is close enough to 19 volts. I'm happy with that. If you plug it in, you'll notice we get nothing of the potentiometers. And if we measure at the entrance here to the potentiometer, we get big fat old, what do we get? 0.95 volts. So that's not quite right. Both of these are like this. One of them runs into the problem where the voltage just, even when you measure it when it's unplugged, the voltage just continues to drop. It starts at like 18.4 and just continues to drop, almost as if it was like unplugged. So those don't work at all, which sucks. The fact that I got two of them makes me think that it might have been my fault that they broke, or that I'm just incredibly unlucky. So I ended up having to place another order for Chinese power supplies. This time I got the Power Plus brand. The other ones didn't even have a brand, they were just super generic. These work quite well, actually. And these didn't come straight from China. I don't think the other ones did either. I think they came from the Amazon warehouse. These came from British Columbia. So if I go to old DC here, measure this one, we get a much more satisfying 19.36 volts. That's a lot closer to 19. Actually, yeah, it's closer to 19. And it's better to be over than under. Sometimes. In this case, it's better to be over than under. And if we plug this one in, this one I actually bought with the right connector on it, so I didn't have to replace the connector, which was convenient. If I plug this one in, and you can see the light behind there, this one works fine. And if I measure the voltage on the entrance here, we should get close to 19.36 volts. Maybe, if I can finagle the probes. Yeah, 19.35. So that one, those actually worked. So it's okay to buy Chinese power supplies, but don't buy the cheapest Chinese power supplies. In this video, I'll be making some LED light panels for video work. They're based on a video that DIY Perks did. Fucking Windows.